Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're taking a deep dive into The Homecoming, this Nollywood film that's been making waves. And listen, it's more than just a romantic comedy. It's a real look into Nigerian society, touching on everything from the tough job market to, the ups and downs of family relationships.
Yeah, and what I find fascinating is how the movie uses visuals to get these themes
Oh,
across.
totally.
Yeah.
Like when Dio is desperately searching for a job.
Uh-huh.
You constantly see her facing closed doors. It's super powerful, right?
It really is. It drives home that feeling of being shut out, you
Right.
know? And it's not just the visuals, the dialogue is also really impactful.
Right. Remember when Dio realizes that job posting was a total fake?
Oh, yeah.
Her frustration is palpable, so relatable.
Totally. That scene really captures the emotional toll of a broken job market, especially on young people. But it's interesting, right? Her friend Sue suggests she try entrepreneurship instead.
Yeah, there's definitely a nod to that growing entrepreneurial spirit in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
But while Dio's dealing with all this, she's also got a huge personal challenge at home. Her aging grandfather.
Oh, their relationship is so heartwarming.
But you can see how his declining health, especially the memory loss, is a huge weight on her.
It is, and the way they show his memory loss is clever. It's not just for laughs, it's a real symptom of his brain tumor. Adds a whole other layer to things.
It's tough to watch her cope with his diagnosis and the cost of surgery while she's just trying to make ends meet herself.
Definitely.
And then she ends up at this interview for Easy Group, a prestigious company, and everything takes a crazy turn.
Oh, that interview scene is comedy gold. She's improvising answers about fashion, a topic she clearly knows nothing about.
I know. And when she says the menswear issue is her favorite
It's
magazine,
genius.
so funny. It's subtly poking fun at those expectations of women in corporate settings, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, despite her lack of fashion knowledge, she ends up impressing Udak, the fashion editor, by totally saving the photo shoot when everything goes wrong.
I loved that scene. Dio is seriously resourceful. But what did you think about Udak hiring her, knowing she lied on her application?
I think it tells us a lot about Udak. She clearly values talent and initiative, even if it comes in an unexpected way. Plus, it sets up a really interesting dynamic between them. Udak's powerful and demanding, and Dio's navigating this whole new world.
And we can't forget that salary.
Right.
300,000 Naira. That's a huge reason for Dio to take the job, even if it's outside her comfort zone. Shows how money matters can sometimes override your dreams.
Absolutely. And then you have that scene where she's bartering with Sue for clothes. It's funny and sweet. Shows how close they are.
Totally. Sue's a great friend, pushing Dio to embrace this opportunity. But just when Dio seems to be finding her feet, we meet Udak's family. And things get complicated. There's tension right away, especially between Dio and Vivian, Udak's assistant.
Vivian definitely sees her as a threat. The family dynamics in this film are so interesting. On the surface, Udak's family seems perfect, but underneath, there's all this tension.
Like Dio's idea for a multi-generational family portrait. It ends up bringing all these hidden resentments and family issues to the surface.
It does.
That Christmas Eve dinner scene,
Intense.
so intense. We see the strained relationship between Udak and her brother Luther,
Yeah.
and then the bombshell their father wasn't actually Luther's biological father. Adds a whole other layer to their story.
Right. It reminds us that even families that seem perfect from the outside have their own struggles.
Exactly. And if all that wasn't enough, Dio gets news that her grandfather has died.
Heartbreaking. The way she gets the news while working at Udak's house, that contrast between her personal grief and the glitzy world of fashion, it's really powerful.
Udak's reaction, 2 weeks paid leave.
Yeah.
So insensitive.
It's jarring compared to all the compassion Dio's grandfather showed, and it sets up that confrontation between Dio and Udak, which we'll see in the next part.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be cheering for Dio in that one.
First.
It seems like she's finally ready to stand up for herself, even if it means leaving a well-paying job. But we'll have to wait for part 2 to see how it all goes down.
That confrontation, it's a real turning point in the film. Dio, even though she's grieving, she finds the strength to call Udak out.
Yeah, it's like she realizes that her worth isn't tied to her job or to, someone like Udak.
Right.
She chooses herself.
Such a powerful scene. And it makes you think about what success really means.
Oh, for sure.
At first, Dio thinks it's all about climbing the corporate ladder, but working at Easy Group makes her rethink that.
Totally. It's interesting how the film contrasts Dio's journey with Udak's.
Yeah.
Udak seemingly has it all, Successful career, beautiful home.
Hmm.
But are those things actually making her happy?
Right. She's got all this tension with her family, especially with Luther. It shows that beneath that perfect surface, there's a lot of loneliness and vulnerability.
So what about when Udak and her mother, Lillian, reconcile? Did that feel authentic to you?
I think so. The film doesn't try to simplify their relationship. It's complex, but it shows they can grow and forgive. Lillian admits her mistakes, and Udak, she kind of lets her guard down.
It felt real. And then we have Luther suddenly showing up at Dio's village to confess his feelings.
Right.
What a twist.
Yeah. It's a nice change of pace from all the drama.
Totally. Luther is such a contrast to Udak. He represents a different side of wealth and privilege. He seems more down to earth, more caring.
Yeah, he really does. And his connection with Dio feels genuine, based on respect and admiration, not superficial like the fashion world Dio's been in.
Yeah. And it's significant that he offers to help Dio find an accounting job. He clearly sees her talent and wants to support her dreams.
It also suggests she might not have to choose between love and her career.
Maybe she can have both. Speaking of her career, I wanted to go back to something we touched on earlier. Entrepreneurship.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think the film is hinting at that being a good path for Dio?
Well, it's definitely presented as an alternative to the corporate world. Remember, Sue encouraged her, and Dio's a natural problem solver. She thinks outside the box. Those are great traits for an entrepreneur.
It's like the film is saying there's more than one way to find success and happiness.
Exactly. Dio's journey is all about finding her own way.
Her own path. And even though she loses her grandfather, their bond and his lessons give her strength.
Yeah.
That scene at his grave is so moving.
It really is. It's sad, but there's gratitude there and a quiet determination. She doesn't let the sadness consume her. It fuels her sense of purpose.
It's a powerful way to explore grief. It's not just about mourning. It's about honoring someone's memory by living a meaningful life.
And it shows how resilient we can be. Even when things are tough, we can find hope. We can create a future that's fulfilling and authentic.
This film, The Homecoming, it's got so many layers. We've talked about work, family, grief, and finding success. But I think what really stands out is how it looks at societal expectations, especially for women.
I agree. You see it subtly through Dio's initial discomfort in the fashion world and how Udak struggles to balance her personal and professional life.
Right. Dio bartering for clothes shows how much pressure women face to fit certain beauty standards.
Absolutely.
And then you have Udak, who seems to have it all together. But underneath, she's vulnerable.
She is.
It challenges the idea that successful women have to be perfect and in control all the time.
It does. And it's something a lot of women can relate to, I think.
It's really interesting how the film uses the fashion industry to, make a point about these societal expectations.
Yeah, it's clever, right? The fashion world, with all the focus on how you look and what's trendy, it becomes kind of a mini version of those bigger pressures on women.
Right. And Dio, coming from a more humble background, she doesn't quite fit in at first.
Yeah, her journey is about figuring herself out, not just her career, but her own sense of style and self-worth.
Exactly. She doesn't try to change who she is. She embraces it.
And I think that's what makes her so relatable and inspiring. She sticks to her values, even when there are these tempting opportunities.
Absolutely. It's like a reminder that real success is about being true to yourself, not trying to fit into someone else's mold.
Exactly.
And it's not just about individual success, right? The film also shows how important community and connection are.
Oh, totally. Throughout the film, we see Dio lean on her support system, her grandfather, Sue, even Luther.
They give her encouragement, guidance, and a sense of belonging, which kind of brings us to the idea of homecoming. The title works on so many levels.
It does.
It's not just about Dio going back to her village. It's also about her finding a place where she belongs, within herself and her relationships.
Yeah. Her journey reminds us that home isn't always a physical place. It's a feeling, a feeling of connection.
Of acceptance. And sometimes it takes going on a journey to figure things out, to find our way back home.
I like that. The Homecoming lets us see a bit of that journey. It's a fun movie, but it makes you think, too.
It really does. It leaves you appreciating the things that matter most.
For sure.
Love, family, community, and having the courage to be yourself. Those are the real treasures.
Well said. And I think that about wraps up our deep dive into The Homecoming.
I hope this has given you some new things to think about, maybe even inspired you to look at your own life a bit differently.
Yeah.
It's been great exploring this film with you.
Likewise.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep searching for those genuine connections that make life truly meaningful.